and welcome back to Does It Go Hard, the show where I review movies, video games, and more. I am so excited to finally be here with you guys to talk about the recent Ghostbusters film, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I know that I've been a little bit inactive, and that's mainly because I was a little bit under the weather, but now that I'm feeling a little bit better, I can finally talk about this film. I've been holding my thoughts on this film in an entire week almost. The film takes place a few years after the events of Ghostbusters Afterlife, with our new cast of characters putting on the jumpsuits and the proton packs to bust some ghosts at the Big Apple. That's right, the Ghostbusters return to New York once again, but y'all already know this. You cannot be busting ghosts in New York without nothing going wrong. Our Ghostbusters seem to discover an ancient artifact that appears to be keeping an evil being of cold abilities. It is once again up to our Ghostbusters to defeat this new freezing threat. So I went and saw this last weekend, and I had an absolute blast. In terms of the showing itself, nothing went wrong. Everything was all nice and dandy. But let's talk about the movie itself. How did I feel about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire? How do I say this? I absolutely fucking loved it. I know, a lot of people have been talking some shit about this film, but I don't care, man. I love the absolute shit out of this film. Now, don't get me wrong, it isn't without its flaws, okay? But as a Ghostbusters fan, this is pretty much everything I've been asking for since I watched the original two films. I love Ghostbusters Afterlife for many reasons, but one of the things I really love about that film is that there was an emotional connection that I could relate to on a deep personal level, to say the least. And yes, while Ghostbusters Afterlife was the Ghostbusters film that we needed at the time, this new one, this is what I've been wanting for years, man. This is everything I could have asked for and more. I love the characters, I love the visual effects, I love the music, I love the story and the expansion to the Ghostbusters universe that they're doing in this film. I was just very impressed with all the things that they were able to manage, and this film covers a lot of things, but it found a perfect way to manage all these different things into an hour and 40-minute runtime without it feeling rushed, at least for the most part. There are a few parts here and there where the movie kind of unfocuses for a bit, but then immediately it focuses back on what we need to really lock in. And that's one of the things I really like about it, is that the movie just keeps going. I absolutely love the journey that the new characters go through in this film, especially McKenna Grace's character Phoebe, where she gets another amazing arc once again in this franchise. Especially with one little detail about her character that when I saw it in the trailers, I was like, I don't know how they're gonna do this, or how they're gonna explain this, or if they're gonna confront it in the film. And I was happy that they talked about it and they actually kind of confronted it for a bit. The way that progresses through the film, I was very much impressed with it. I'm not gonna spoil it because it is kind of getting into spoiler territory, and this is not a spoiler review. I'm not gonna go into the nitty-gritty details of it, but I was still very surprised by it that they not only acknowledged it, but that they actually took the time to develop this aspect of the character. And the rest of the Spengler family is also great. Trevor gets a little bit more to do here, though he still is kind of a secondary character. He's still fun, he still gets a lot of great scenes, especially with Slimer. I was expecting maybe more of his character, but at the end of the day, he's still very charming, he's still very fun to watch in the film. The relationship between Callie and Mr. Gruerson is actually kind of great and hilarious here. Now, there is one thing that I'm not really sure if it was established in the film, if they were married. I don't know exactly what the status of the relationship is. I just like that these two are still together and still are kind of this fun and charming couple throughout the film. Now, I am a little bit disappointed that Podcast and Lucky are a little bit underutilized. They're still very fun, they still get plenty of good scenes, okay, don't get me wrong, but especially for Lucky, she kind of gets a little bit pushed to the back, and that was a little bit upsetting for me personally. But again, she's still good, she's still charming, she's still very fun to watch. It's just that I wish that they utilized her character a little bit more this time around. And the same with Podcast. He has more to do than Lucky here, but at the same time, I hope that he had a bit more to do here like he did in Afterlife, is what I'm saying. Of course, the original cast returns, and this was probably one of the things that both had me excited, but also a little bit nervous about the film. The way that they did the OGs in Afterlife, while it was exciting, it did feel like 3 glorified cameos, if I'm being completely honest. Them just kind of coming in right at the end to the final battle just felt forced and it didn't feel natural. Again, like glorified cameos. Here, the OGs not only return, but they get a lot more to do. They actually kind of expand and develop their characters a little bit more. At least with Winston and Ray, they definitely expand them more. Peter's just kind of the same old Peter, but I don't really mind that. I expect that from a character like Peter Venkman. But I do like that with Winston and with Ray, they do go out of their way to actually expand their characters and develop them more and to actually incorporate them into the plot of the film in a way that's believable. Also, seeing Annie Potts in a jumpsuit, that was fucking amazing. That's some real Ghostbusters type shit. Which is one of the things I do want to get into about the film, is that from early on, they said that the film was taking a lot of inspiration from the real Ghostbusters cartoon. You can see it clearly throughout its entire runtime. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I actually do believe that if you're going to continue the Ghostbusters franchise or expand the Ghostbusters franchise, taking it into that ridiculous and goofy direction of the cartoon is the right direction. And even if you want to go into the direction that some of the comics go, like Ghostbusters International, I think that would be absolutely amazing and a great direction for a franchise. The special effects are a lot of fun. Now, I do admit that the movie does use quite a bit of CGI, but I expect that. There are some creatures here that I'm like, okay, you can't do this with fucking practical effects, okay? I just don't see how you could actually do some of these creatures with practical effects. Now, some of them, they actually do use practical effects that really impress me. Slimer's still a puppet, which absolutely surprised me. I didn't expect that whatsoever. There's a new ghost called the Possessor that kind of goes into different inanimate objects and just causes absolute fucking chaos and havoc. It's amazing. I love this little fucker. The chasing with the sewer dragon is absolute fucking amazing. It's peak Ghostbusters, if you ask me. I know that some of these special effects of this film are absolutely ridiculous and cartoonish as fuck, but I don't give a shit. I absolutely fucking love it. The score is just as beautiful like it was in Ghostbusters Afterlife. It was nice to see that not only they incorporated some of the original score from the original film, but this time they incorporated a lot more new tracks to it, which was amazing because the soundtrack to this film is absolutely perfect. I fucking love it. It's amazing. And in terms of the story, without getting into spoilers, I actually really loved it. I thought this was a great story, especially for Phoebe's character. Now, it wasn't as emotional like it was with Afterlife, but I don't expect it to be as emotional. But I did feel a lot of emotions with this. There's a point in the film where you actually, for a second, that maybe a character could die. And I was like, holy shit, like this film has real stakes. Overall, the movie is just absolutely charming. It's fun. It's also kind of scary. That's one thing that I would say. In my showing, there was not only a lot of people, but there were a lot of kids, a lot of excited kids, a lot of new Ghostbusters fans. The next generation of Ghostbusters fans was just, it was so fucking cool to see that. This film, like I said, does actually have a lot of really spooky and kind of scary moments, at least for like a kid. Like a kid would see some of these scenes and would actually get a little bit creeped out about them. For any parents that are watching this video, beware of that, okay? Because some of these ghosts and some of these effects might actually scare some of your younger children. And the comedy is still here and it's great. I was laughing throughout this film a lot of times. Man, it's just feels so fucking good to be getting good Ghostbusters films in today's day and age. What the fuck, man? This is something that I never expected in my entire fucking life to ever happen. I'm so happy that this franchise was able to come back from the dead. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now let's get into some of my, I guess, issues, let's call them that. First of all, this movie does have a lot of things to talk about. It has a lot of plot lines and it has a lot of different character arcs in it, and maybe for some people it will feel like it's too much. Now for me personally, I didn't feel like that, but I can see how it could maybe affect people's enjoyment of the film. Another thing is that this movie is fucking wild, okay? This movie introduces some new crazy fucking concepts that I I'm actually not bothered by it, okay? I think these are actually cool. They're interesting in a spiritual and mythological kind of way that I was like very intrigued by. I can also see how some people might be a little bit put off by them. I've seen a lot of people saying that, oh, this is ridiculous. Ghostbusters has gone too far with this. And it's like, really? The same fucking franchise with a giant marshmallow man, gods from different centuries. But no, this one new thing is too much for Ghostbusters. Get the fuck out of here. I guess if I had one real complaint is that there is one action that one of the main characters does later on in the film that is kinda questionable, to say the least. It's one of those things where you understand why the character does it, you put yourself in the shoes of the character, and you get it, you know? But at the same time, you're like, this character is smarter than most people, so you don't really expect a character this smart to kind of make a mistake like this. But at the same time, you gotta put it in perspective of the character, you know? And if you put it that way, it doesn't become as distracting as it is, but it was the one part of the film where I was like, you could have written this a little bit differently. It still didn't really bother me that much. It was just one of those things where I was like questioning. But overall, man, I just can't help but absolutely fucking love this film. Now, if you would ask me where I would rank it, if I'm being completely honest, I would rank it as my number 2 best Ghostbusters film. And honestly, it is one of those films where I was so surprised by it that asking me maybe a year or 2 later, it could almost be as good as the original. Now, you might be calling me crazy, and I know, okay? I know that you just said that, whoa, wait, Diego, shut the fuck up. You're saying that Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is better than the original? No, that's not what I'm saying, you fucking idiot. What I'm saying is that this film surprised me so much in so many different ways that I didn't expect, that it gave me almost that same feeling like the original does. Where the original is a fucking masterpiece, okay? I've said it before. I said it in my video where I talked about the original film. The original Ghostbusters is a masterpiece. It is the definition of lightning in a bottle. And this film is like 99% of that. It's like catching like 99% of that same lightning in a bottle, which I did not fucking expect whatsoever about this film. And I know that still might seem kind of crazy, but again, that's just me, okay? Now, I'm not saying that I would put it over the original. Oh, no, absolutely not. I would not put this film over the original whatsoever. But it is a really close second, okay? It's a close second to it. So yeah, man, I absolutely love this film. Now, the real question is, what is my rating for the film? To me, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and this is just personally, and I know a lot of people are gonna look at me crazy for this, but personally, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire goes hard. Again, this is for me only, and me only. This is my opinion. Leave me the fuck alone. I don't wanna hear shit, okay? I just had an absolute fucking blast with this film, and that's the reason why the film goes hard for me personally. Again, this is me personally. But thank you so much for watching. What do you think of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire? Did you love the film? Did you hate it? Or are you just kind of in the middle? Let me know down in the comments. I really want to know what you guys think about it. And like always, good day, good night, and stay safe.